Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is John Goldberg, and I am the hearing officer from Public Works. I'm assigned to project management, the Easter projects. My job as the hearing officer today is to gather all the information from both the department and from the public or the applicant, and then to forward a recommendation to the director. It's the director's job to decide whether or not to approve, reject, or modify my recommendations. So our clerk today is Charisse Waiters, and we appreciate her for being there and helping out. So thank you, Charisse. So with that, let me call item number one. Item number one is a call to order. So we've called this meeting to order. Item number two, order number 203478, Mission Rock Project. Consideration of and possible action regarding subdivision code exceptions requested by the subdivider to construct proposed infrastructure design for the project at Seawall Lot 337, including subdivider's proposed use of lightweight cellular concrete for the project and associated LCC design criteria and performance failure criteria, settlement monitoring and sampling requirements and procedures, excavation and backfill requirements and procedures, and municipal code amendments and/or city regulations and procedures, which are certain conditions of approval of Public Works Order 202368 that must be satisfied prior to authorization for the use of LCC. The subdivider of the Mission Rock project requests approvals and/or determinations necessary to authorize the proposed use of lightweight cellular concrete, including Public Works approval of subdivision code exceptions pursuant to subdivision code section 1712 and design criteria and performance criteria, failure criteria, settlement monitoring and sampling requirements and procedures, excavation and backfill requirements and procedures, and municipal code amendments and/or city regulations and procedures, which are certain conditions of approval set forth in Public Works Order number 202368 that must be satisfied prior to the authorization of the use of LCC for the Mission Rock project, amendments and/or city regulations and procedures, which are certain conditions of approval set forth in Public Works Order number 202368 that must be satisfied prior to the authorization of the use of LCC for the Mission Rock project. All right, with that, what I'm going to do is ask for the department spokesperson or representative to speak first. If you would please identify yourself and your position. I'd like to include that in my recommendation to the director, and then we'll go to the applicant if they want to speak, and then finally to any members of the public. So with that, can we have the department's presentation? Oh, so John Kwong is just got an text. Can you send me an updated link? Okay, hold on, I will do that. Okay, so I've sent the link. Mr. Kwong, I don't know if that is going to be helpful. I'm looking at what David has said. So do we have a presenter for that?
If John, this is Nicholas. If John Kwong can't present, I can.
Beautiful. I appreciate that, Nicholas. If you would go ahead, that would be great.
All right, I need to pull up the documents. Give me a second.
No problem. Thank you.
So the first item up for consideration is the draft sampling and monitoring plan and performance failure criteria. So these items reflect intense negotiation review of the novel approach to backfill, which the developer has presented in regard to lightweight cellular concrete. And it encompasses all of the testing and monitoring procedures that will be in place that the developer is agreeing to in order to assure that this system meets city and county standards and this intent of the subdivision code for the installation of the other facilities that are compliant with the code. It also establishes criteria in the event of settlement. Failure is kind of a severe word, but we'll go with that. Failure of the LCC and what it will trigger and what remedies the city will have. That is the first item. I can't remember what the procedure is, John, or hearing officer. So John's on.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm going to apologize to everyone.
Okay, let me finish. So that concludes this item. John, I don't know what I need to do at the end for this particular item. There's two more.
Okay.
Sorry, John. I'm talking to John Goldberg, not John Kwong.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So whoever wants to make the presentation, we'll just go through it and thank you, Nicholas. John, John Kwong, do you want to go over the issue?
Yes, thank you very much, hearing officer. There are several items that I'm pretty sure Nicholas had mentioned, there are 4 specific order numbers related to the Mission Rock development. They are for the LCC performance, LCC monitoring and criteria, and the LCC excavation and maintenance, along with a final item for the Mission Rock exception request. Of those 4, Public Works is requesting that the order related to the excavation and maintenance be continued at this point. We are still working through several iterations and criteria that hasn't been quite finalized yet at this point, and we're requesting that be continued. Okay. Having said that, I believe the first item that we want to discuss, which would be out of order, is for the design exception request as requested by the development team for Mission Rock, and then followed by the two orders related to the lightweight cellular concrete for Mission Rock shortly thereafter.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Public Works, hearing officer John Kwong for Public Works once again. Public Works has received a request from the Mission Rock development team back in July, which has been recently updated to include 2 additional items and remove 1 item from the exception request. The request can be categorized into multiple groups The first group is related to curb heights for city streets. A second one is related to various utility clearances. A third is related to the use of various pavers. And those are the major items. At this point, I would like to go over and go quickly through some of the requests for exceptions. The first group of exceptions are items numbers 1 through 7, in which the development team had asked for variations of curb height from a from a 6-inch curb that would vary to a 2 and 4-inch curb for cycle tracks, to a flush curb, i.e. there is no curb, the curb will be flush with the roadway for the shared public ways, and other minor variations along 3rd Street and Bridgeview Street, where the curb is either raised to 7 inches or lowered to as low as 4.5 inches to provide for positive drainage from the sidewalk out to the curb line. The evaluation from staff, and staff would recommend that there will be several specific conditions related to these variations, including regrading the cycle track to provide for drainage outboard from the sidewalk out to the roadway, out to the cycle track, out to the roadway, to allow for drainage for rainstorms and runoffs. That the shared public way will be submitted along with a major encroachment permit where the maintenance and liability is going to be handled by third party. And those are the major elements related to the various curb height exceptions.
Okay.
The second group are all related to underground utility facilities within the Mission Rock area. Every one of these requests for exceptions is to reduce the minimum clearance requirements related to utilities, be it the sewer system or the water line systems, to other utilities or to the curb. The design has demonstrated that these reduction in clearances are needed based upon the width of the roadway and how the utilities are set up. In these kind of cases, SFPUC has reviewed the exception request and does not provide an objection. Based upon this request, this Public Works would recommend that these exceptions be accepted with one variation, and that is for the low pressure water clearance. That would require an additional clearance from the state board. We would request that this item be conditionally approved pending the approval from the state board.
Okay.
A third exception is for the amount of stormwater within the storm drain facility. The San Francisco subdivision regulations requires on the design storm that there will be a minimum of 4 foot of what they call freeboard. That is from the top of the water, the top of the storm water that's running within the pipe to the top of the roadway should be 4 feet. However, due to existing constraints, a request has been made to reduce that to the allowable minimum of 2 feet. Again, in this case, San Francisco Public Utility Commission has reviewed the technical request and determined that they do not object to this request for variance. Based upon the comment from SFPUC, staff is recommending that the director accept this request.
Okay.
The next series of requests are for the use of flexible utility connections for underground facilities. In these cases, the development team is asking to use flexible connections along 3rd Street, where Mission Rock will be tying their utilities into, and for flexible connections between the street and the property line. The use of flexible connections in these kind of cases is the ability for the system to adjust for any potential settlement or movement from the street itself. Over time, the facility, Mission Rock, is built on bay mud, and they're planning on using a system to solidify or ensure that settlement is minimized, whereas 3rd Street sits on currently bay mud, and over time it does settle. And the use of these flexible utility connections will adapt for these changes in settlement, so as to not potentially break these utility mains. Based upon this, the SFPUC has reviewed and determined that it is okay with them, that they do not object, and Public Works is requesting that this be accepted as an design exception.
Okay.
The last several items related to the design exceptions is, number one, the use of a trench drain for surface drainage within the shared public way within the Mission Rock area. Based upon the request and discussion, it is understood that third parties will be accepting the maintenance and the liability for both the trench drain and the connection to the city storm drain system. And hence, based upon that understanding, staff is recommending that the director accept this variance and exception.
Okay.
The second to last item is the use of a horizontal main vent for the connection along 3rd Street for a sanitary sewer main. During design, it was discovered that in order for the system to connect for the sanitary sewer system to connect onto 3rd Street, that a small horizontal curb will need to be constructed for the sewer main in order for it to avoid certain utilities and to build that facility. SFPUC has reviewed the proposed design and determined that such a design is acceptable, and they do not have any objections. Based upon this, Public Works staff is recommending that the director accept this variance and exception.
Okay.
Finally, there are several items related to the use of lightweight cellular concrete as both a trenching and earthwork bedding material and fill material. This was submitted to Public Works. We are reviewing it, and these elements would be more appropriately identified, has been already identified in the 2 upcoming presentations related to the lightweight cellular concrete design criteria and monitoring of performance criteria. And staff is recommending that the decision that is made upon the LCC be also adapted as part of the variance.
Okay.
And that would conclude this staff member's presentation related to the various design exceptions.
Very good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any other member from staff that was going to speak on this item? All right, if there's no other member of staff from the department that's going to speak on the item, I'll go to public comments or to the speakers. There's several. I guess I'll just go in order of their calls. I have 5 callers. So the first caller, let's see here. The new systems, we have to figure out how to do this. Okay, let's see this.
To place, oh, we're sorry, your request was not recognized. Please try again. We're sorry, future conference.
So I think that might do it. Does that work?
I think that works.
Hello?
We're sorry.
Hearing officer, I believe
there we go.
I don't think there are any public members in this hearing. It appears to be all from city staff.
Oh, really? Because I have 5 guests that have called in. Hello, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, I can go ahead. I can hear you. Well, let me. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes, I can go ahead. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. So I don't know. It says guest number 5 is speaking, but I can't. Let's see here what we're going to do. Hello, go ahead. Hello, go ahead. Go ahead. I can hear you.
Just wanted to note the outstanding work that Alaric, Director, Acting Director of Public Works,
Hello, John.
Yes. Sorry.
Is this John Goldberg? Can you hear me?
John, you need to unmute yourself on Teams.
Hello, John.
Yes, I can hear you.
John, this is Iqbal Japa. I am the acting bureau manager.
Okay, can you spell your name, please?
Hold on, let me. My name is Iqbal, I-Q-B-A-L, B as in boy.
Okay.
Last name Japa, D as in David, H as Henry, A as Adam, P as Peter, A as Adam, Iqbal Japa.
Okay.
I'm the acting bureau manager for Bureau of Engineering at San Francisco Public Works.
Okay.
And I need to present the next two draft order for the Mission Rock project.
Okay. Mr. Dopp, I think there's still some callers that are going to speak on the first part. So let me try and get through them. I still see four
Sure.
callers on the line.
Sure, no problem.
All right, thank you.
We're sorry, your request was not recognized. Please try again.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
To place all participants in broadcast mode, press 1. To begin a voting, and all participants are now in listen-only mode. We're sorry, your request was not recognized. Please try again.
Okay, well, I apologize to the people on the phone. I'm not, for whatever reason, we're not able to get to them. So if you will submit whatever written comments you want, I will include those in the findings. Paul, are you available to speak?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead, please. I'm sorry for the confusion.
Okay, no problem. So we wanted to present three draft orders today for the Mission Rock Phase 1 project. John Kwong presented the first one on the design exceptions.
Okay.
I intend to present the next two. The first one that I'm going to present is related to the design criteria for the LCC infrastructure in Mission Rock. After that, then I will present the next draft order for the monitoring plan and the performance criteria.
Okay.
Shall I go ahead? So let me give you a brief background before I go into the design criteria. With the global warming, we know that sea level is expected to rise in future. There is a most likely scenario of rise in the sea level in the amount of 36 inches by the year 2100. And there is also an upper end limit, which is likely, but which is an upper end which is unlikely, but a possible amount. There is an amount of 66.5 inches that can occur in the sea level rise. So in order to accommodate the future sea level rise, the subdivider is proposing to raise the side grades for the future streets and sidewalks by approximately 5.5 feet. If conventional soil is placed to raise the grades, the load from this new fill would result in the consolidation settlement in the underlying compressible clay, which is commonly known as the bay mud. In order to mitigate the potential future settlement, the subdivider proposes to replace the upper layer of the soil with the lightweight cellular concrete. So by choosing the appropriate depth of the soil and its replacement, removal and its replacement, the existing load and the underlying bay mud will be reduced such that the additional load due to raising the grade and the building, the streets, can be accommodated without increasing the load on the underlying soil. This will help reduce the future settlement of the roadways and the sidewalks. So this particular order establishes the design criteria for the proposed lightweight cellular concrete that will be used for the Mission Rock Phase 1 project. In order to, the design criteria is established such that the subdivider is going to construct the streets and right-of-ways on LCC to limit the future settlement and heave in the amount of 1.5 inches, as well as the differential settlement in the amount of 1.5 inches over the length of 75 feet. The cross-section for the subgrade and the pavement structure will also be designed such that the factor of safety against the consolidation will be provided by reducing the total weight or total load on the bay mud by at least 10%. This lightweight cellular concrete will be also subjected to the groundwater uplift forces. With the sea level, with the rise in the sea level, the groundwater is also expected to rise in the future. So the subdivider is required to design the new LCC and the overlaying street section such that the hydrostatic uplift will be resisted with a factor of safety of 1.3 for the most likely scenario and a 1.1 for the upper end of the sea level rise, which is the 66 inches. In addition, the pavement substrate will be designed so that it can anticipate the traffic loading, and for that, the subdivider is required to construct the LCC with a minimum compressive strength of 20 psi at the 28 days. Additionally, the LCC shall be excavatable so that the future utility installation and repair can be performed using the standard equipments and methods. For that, a maximum compressive strength of LCC has been specified or will be established, is established. So this primarily provides the general overview of the design criteria for the LCC that is proposed to be used in the Mission Rock Phase 1. Do I go on to the next one?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so the next draft order is for the monitoring plan and the performance criteria of the LCC infrastructure. The purpose of this particular draft order is to evaluate the performance of the LCC infrastructure so that it will perform safely and in accordance with the intended use and the purpose. If the accidents and/or the failure of the LCC criteria that is mentioned in this particular draft order is experienced, then it will be deemed as a failure of the LCC infrastructure, and the subdivider will be required to take appropriate actions as outlined in the initial warranty and the extended warranty in the Public Works Order number 202368. This particular monitoring plan is going to monitor and collect the data for various ground movements and the utility movements. So one of the first topic that I will touch on is the ground movement. There will be approximately 35 monuments will be established